All right, thanks for everybody for being with us today. We're going to start the way we always do with the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all
concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Is it fun?
Is it fun?
Absolutely. That's right. Look at Cindy having a good time. Well, instead of Ron Popple, Tim Hawks, do you care to lead us in prayer, please?
I'll be glad to. Let's pray. Oh God, what a beautiful day it is outside. We have so much hope in the springtime and hope for things to come. Things are looking up as far as the COVID-19 is concerned, and we realize that we're not there yet, but there's hope in the air, and we're grateful for that. We thank you for this organization that does so much good in our community, in our state, in our world, and we are proud to be a part of it. And we pray for your blessings upon each of us. Bless us during this program, that we may gain insight and understanding, and that we may be encouraged and empowered to serve as you have called us to serve above ourselves. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. I've got a few people I need to let in real quick, and then we'll go. All right, Miss Lori, our trivia question, please.
Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, so everybody unmute yourselves. So today's trivia question is a St. Patrick's Day trivia question, since that was just yesterday. Where was the first St. Patrick's Day parade in Ireland held in 1903?
Dublin.
Where?
Dublin.
No.
Limerick.
No. Any other guesses? Waterford, Ireland.
Waterford, Ireland. Well, that's good to know.
That is today's trivia question. Please send in your dollars whenever you send in your dues for the Rotary Club. Just mark on there that it's for your trivia.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Alex, do you care to introduce our member spotlight?
Sure. Good afternoon, President Amber and fellow Rotarians. Hope everyone's doing well. Good to see you all today. We have a wonderful Rotarian to spotlight today, longtime member, former secretary for our club, and she did a great job doing that. And she's going to be coming back on the board starting July 1st, which we're very excited about. So without any further ado, I'll kick it over to Miss Cindy Burton.
Greetings, President Amber and fellow Rotarians. I have been a member since 2007, and Mark Chumbler sponsored me, and I joined because I wanted to bring awareness to my passionate mission of Matthew 25. But also I had met so many members of Rotary doing nursing throughout the Henderson community, whether I was doing home health or working in intensive care. And I knew the value of people in Rotary in this community, and I wanted to be a part of that. I have been so blessed to find out about all the other missions that are also in Henderson and be able to share and support them as well. So it's been a true blessing.
Well, thank you very much. And we're excited to have you join the board July 1st.
Yeah, 7:30 in the morning, right?
Yes, unless it gets changed. Now they may talk, maybe you can talk them into changing it, but right now it's Mondays at 7:30.
I was going to say, and it's a Monday at that at 7:30.
I'll make a motion for 8:30 a.m., please.
Oh, looky there, looky there. Well,
I'll let President Jennifer at the time.
July. Thank you.
So moved. All right, student ambassador, so excited to have you guys. Do you care to introduce yourself and what are your plans after graduation?
Hey, my name is Drew Neal, and I plan to go to the Henderson Community College and decide a major while I'm there.
My name's Nick Curtigan. I plan to go to WKU and major in accounting.
My name's Kaylee Norman, and I'm going to the University of Louisville and majoring in music therapy.
My name is Marissa Littrell, and I plan on going to WKU and majoring in business communications.
My name is Maggie Privet, and I'm planning on going to the University of Kentucky and majoring in secondary English education.
Wonderful, congratulations. And just to let you guys know, our scholarships are open. We're gonna have 7 $1,000 scholarships to graduating seniors in Henderson County. And the deadline for that is April 15th.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Just a reminder, our March month of service is we are raising money. We're gonna donate. The board has agreed to match what is donated towards the Henderson County baseball team. They're needing a new pitching machine. So please, you can mail in your check to the PO box or use our Square account that is in the email sent out. And that's all I have. I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm excited that Miss Lindsey is here to join us with JDRF. Audubon has been part of the walk. I think it would have been 11 years. I think the walk has been going on. I don't remember how long, Lindsey, I have to tell you. So, and I've known you probably, what, 3 or 4 years?
5. This will be 5 years.
Oh, it has really been 5 years. Time flies. So
I know.
Lindsey, please take over.
Yeah, so I've got a presentation that I'm going to share with everybody. Let me know if you can see it. Okay. So as Amber said, my name is Lindsey Susott, and I am from JDRF. JDRF was formerly the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And a few years ago, we dropped the juvenile from that and just went with JDRF because we realized that children turn into adults with type 1 and adults are getting diagnosed with type 1. So type 1 diabetes was originally thought to be only a juvenile diagnosis. But the more we learn about it, the more we learn that it's an autoimmune disease that can be diagnosed at any age. So JDRF's vision and our mission is really simple, is a world without type 1 diabetes. We strive to improve lives today and tomorrow by accelerating life-changing breakthroughs to cure, prevent, and treat T1D and its complications. So while our end game is obviously to find a cure for type 1 and to prevent people from ever getting type 1, we want to make life a little bit easier for those who are currently living with type 1. So I will talk a little bit about our research coming up, but for those who aren't familiar with type 1, we get a lot of questions. What is type 1 diabetes? So type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease in which a person's pancreas stops producing insulin. Insulin is the hormone that enables people to get energy from food. So if you aren't able to get your energy from food, you get very sluggish, you start to lose weight, you don't have energy. People who are diagnosed with type 1 before they know that they have it are constantly drinking water. They're eating all the time, but they still aren't getting energy, and they're going to the bathroom a lot. So basically everything that they're ingesting is just going right through them and isn't being used the way the body intends for it to be used. What we found is type 1 has both genetic and environmental triggers. So you have to carry the antibodies for type 1, and we have fun new ways that we can test those for anybody. Previously, they only tested genetic factors on those who had a direct connection to type 1 diabetes. With the new T1D Detect program, we can test anybody, anywhere, anytime. So if you have any other autoimmune diseases, we highly recommend getting people in your family tested. We are also advocating to try to get T1D detection added as a newborn screening, or at least the risk factors for type 1 added as a newborn screening, because we know with the medications that we have now and the technology that we have now that we actually can prevent the onset of type 1 for up to 3 years. So we have very promising research, and we need as many people to get screened for these antibodies as possible to enter them into our trials to hopefully learn how we can prevent the onset of T1D from ever happening. Another misconception is that people don't exercise enough or that you ate too much sugar and that's why you have type 1 diabetes. But type 1 is not related to diet or lifestyle at all. There's absolutely nothing you can do to prevent type 1 once you get those antibodies. Like I said, we can slow them down, but right now we can't stop it and we cannot cure it. Who does type 1 affect? It affects anybody and everybody. Most of the stories I hear are there's nobody in our family with type 1. We don't know where this came from. We don't know how it happened. It just showed up out of nowhere. And that sadly is why T1D is life-threatening, is because people don't expect it. They don't see it coming. And often they're admitted to the hospital and diagnosed in an emergency room before they even know that they have it. So type 1 requires insulin for life. It requires constant management. You don't get a second of the day off. You don't get Christmas breaks. You don't get summer breaks. You don't get vacations. Everything you eat, everything you drink, every bit of exercise has to be monitored. Your glucose has to be checked. Getting something as simple as a cold can, have negative effects on your blood sugar. Having too much exercise can have negative effects on your blood sugar. Jumping on a trampoline, eating one piece of candy can have effects on your blood sugar. So type 1s make up to 300 decisions every single day that can save their life. There are currently over 1.6 million Americans living with type 1 diabetes, and that includes 600,000 youth and over 1 million adults. We are seeing staggering increases of people diagnosed with type 1 at the rate of 40,000 per year, but we expect by 2050 that we will have over 3 million Americans living with type 1 diabetes. And not to get off subject at all, but we are also seeing a staggering increase with kids and adults who have had COVID now presenting in the ER with type 1. And so I'll go back to the environmental triggers of type 1 diabetes. Obviously, you have to have the antibodies to get type 1, but we are finding that most of the cases are being triggered by a virus, by an accident, by a fall, something that throws the person's body into overdrives and causes it to compensate to protect the body from something else. And that's when the pancreas kind of decides like, hey, the body's focused on something else. I'm done working. We're done producing insulin. You've got type 1. So we're still trying to figure out how we can prevent that aspect of it. We've got some great possibilities happening, but since we don't know exactly what is causing it, which environmentals are the biggest impact, we just don't know. So this is a fun activity that we do when we go out to businesses or schools to talk about type 1. So this is a typical day for a type 1. At 1 a.m., the CGM goes off, which is a continuous glucose monitor, and says that Stella's blood sugar reading is high. It's 283, and she needs to be somewhere between 90 and 120. So she gets up at 1 a.m. and she has to administer insulin. She checks her blood sugar again. She gets another alarm. It's 228 at 3 a.m. So you've already gotten up twice in the middle of the night. Insulin's administered again. 8 a.m. you get up and your blood sugar is 181. You have to eat breakfast or not, but to eat breakfast, you have to take what your reading is based on your personal ratio, which is different for everybody, and then decide what you're going to eat. And then you get to decide how much insulin you get to give. So you are doing extreme math just so you can have a bite of breakfast. At 9:15, there's a blood sugar reading alert and it's 60. So that means your blood sugar is dropping. So what does this mean? This means you need sugar. So you have to take glucose tabs, you down some Skittles, drink an orange juice. 11 a.m., it's time for lunch. So you take your blood sugar reading again, you calculate what you're going to eat, you put in your personal formula, and then you decide again how much insulin that you're going to take. 3:30 p.m., blood sugar reading of 167. That's an okay reading. You don't have to do anything at this time. 5 p.m., studying, finishing homework, the reading's 105. Again, it's okay. You don't have to do anything. But guess what? You're going to go work out. at 6 p.m. You forget to check your blood sugar before you start working out. And by the end of the class, your blood sugar is 55. This means that you have to take glucose tabs, you have to sit down, you have to have some sugar, and you need to rest. When your blood sugar gets low, people can hallucinate, they can pass out, they get trembly, they get sweaty, they get hot, they get nauseous. You just don't feel good. And honestly, it takes a while to recover from that. And as you can see, type 1 is a roller coaster of a day. There are highs and lows all throughout the day, and you literally can do the exact same thing every day, and it's never going to look the same. It's a roller coaster that you literally can never get off of. So we're going to go back to the difference between type 1 and type 2. And as I mentioned before, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. We know what autoimmune diseases are. Lots of people have them. Celiac disease is one. And so the thing about autoimmune diseases are, if you have one, there is a chance that you can also develop another one. So people with type 1 diabetes also often have other autoimmune diseases that impact their lives. So by finding a cure to one autoimmune disease, we will unlock cures to multiple autoimmune diseases like MS, like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. So by funding this research and by doing everything that JDRF is doing, we're not only fighting for T1Ds, we're fighting for everybody living with an autoimmune disease. Type 2 diabetes can be controlled through diet. It can be delayed. It can be completely pretty much cured by exercise. And you can also take an oral medication for type 2 diabetes. Not all type 2 diabetics are insulin dependent, and type 1 diabetics are insulin dependent from the minute they are diagnosed. So there is a very big difference between type 1 and type 2. So it's very important to know the difference. So what are we doing? JDRF is funding research, like I said, to find a cure and to make lives easier. Right now, we have committed over $2 billion to funding research since 1970. JDRF was started in 1970 at a kitchen table by two moms who wanted a better life for their son. At that time, there were no CGMs that people could wear to constantly check their blood sugar. There weren't even things to prick your fingers. Like blood sugar had to be tested through looking at urine. So we've come a long way. There weren't insulin pumps. You had to always give injections. And insulin was most often from an animal. Now insulin is synthetic and can be created in a lab and is much more accurate than the insulin that they were getting from animals in the past. In 2019, which is the most recent data we have, we awarded over 150 research grants. That means we are funding 150 different research projects across the world. Currently, there are 70 clinical trials happening, and these range from beta cell replacement to insulin studies to device studies to the prevention trials. And then JDRF is funding research not only in the US, but 20 countries across the globe. And some of our most promising research is happening overseas right now. And we're really, really excited to see where our beta cell research is going. So a little bit more about the research areas. Beta cell therapies means putting healthy beta cells back into the body, and that ensures that the pancreas starts producing insulin again. It recognizes the food you eat, and it triggers your body exactly the same way your pancreas does and says, you need to break this food down and you need to turn it into energy and use it properly. So this is the closest thing right now that we are finding to a cure for type 1. So beta cell replacements, they're actually putting beta cells into the body in a little bitty pouch. It's teeny tiny. And right now the body is accepting those pouches of beta cells for 18 months to 2 years. At the 18 month to 2 year mark, the immune system kicks in and the body starts to reject those packets. So they have to put a new one in. So right now it is not considered a cure. And it's not a long-term treatment for type 1 because of the short term in which the body rejects the packet of beta cells. So right now, the main research happening around the beta cell therapy is the next step, immune therapies. How do we get our immune systems to stop attacking those beta cell packets that we're putting in so that this can be a long-term cure for type 1 diabetes? We also want to improve lives. So this is where glucose control comes in. I don't know if any of you know anybody that has a continuous glucose monitor, but often you can see people wearing them on their arms or on their legs or on their stomach. The two most popular ones are the Dexcom and the Freestyle Libre. And these just allow people not to have to poke their finger 8 to 10 times a day. With the Dexcom, a reading is automatically sent to the person's phone. They can alert for highs and lows. So they don't have to go based on how their body is feeling. They have a real-time number that they can look at and say, okay, my blood sugar is going low. I need to eat something before it gets really low and bottoms out. The Freestyle Libre is a scannable sensor. It has to be worn on the arm, and you take your phone and you scan it and it tells you what your blood sugar reading is. The really neat thing about these is we are doing automated insulin delivery based on these numbers. So these continuous glucose monitors now talk to insulin pumps, and they tell you how much insulin you need or when to stop and suspend insulin delivery based on what the number is from your glucose monitor. So it takes a little bit of the calculations out. It does not account for meals that you are going to eat. It doesn't account for exercise in real time. So there's still things you have to plan for. You have to enter how many carbs you're planning on eating in the meal. And if you're going to work out, you still have to keep an eye on those numbers and know what your numbers are, how your body reacts to exercise, and how to plan for that. To improve lives, we also want to prevent complications. And we know that by making T1D management easier, that we are preventing serious complications from type 1. We're encouraging better health outcomes because it is easier to manage type 1 when you have those numbers in front of your face, when you don't have to stop and poke your finger 8 to 10 times a day, and you can just look at your phone and see the numbers, and you don't have to find a clean, sterile place to go. It's just right there. And so these devices are lessening complications, they're preventing hospitalizations, and they're just overall making life for a type 1 better. But we know that we still have a long way to go before a type 1 feels like their life is easy. So how can you help? The first thing we like to offer is community outreach. So this helps us get connected with kids and their families who have been recently diagnosed. In the hospital, did they receive a bag of hope kit? This bag of hope has a teddy bear in it that has sticky pads on his fingers, on his legs, on his arms, and on his belly, that a kid and his family can practice, giving insulin shots. They can practice poking his fingers. They can do all that stuff. And this little teddy bear, Rufus, has diabetes just like the kid does. So there's a storybook that comes with it. So you can take that to school and explain to your classmates that you aren't different, that you can do everything that they do. You just require a little extra medicine to keep going or to have that school cupcake. Young adults. So we just came out with this young adult kit, and we realized that this was a group we were missing. They didn't want the bag of hope because they didn't want a teddy bear. They were too old for that. So a lot of times they aren't connected to us. They don't know the services that JDRF offers. So help us get connected to those young adults and adults who are struggling with type 1 and who may not have a connection to JDRF. We also have a mentoring program. So if you know of adults and children who have type 1 and want to help somebody else with type 1, let us know. We match those people based on their geography, based on their age, based on their diagnosis times. We want people to feel like they know somebody that has the same experience that they do. We also have an online diabetes support team. So if you know somebody that's struggling with type 1, please make sure that they are aware of our online support programs. And then we ask that everybody, regardless of your connection with type 1, attend one of our educational programs. If you are interested in research, if you are interested in learning more about autoimmune diseases, if you just want to know about T1D, attend our Type 1 Nation Summit. It is a national virtual program this year that anybody can attend free of charge, and you hear from the top researchers in the world. You hear from type 1s, you hear from type 1s who are bodybuilders, who are Hollywood stuntmen, who have done American Ninja Warrior. So it really allows people to understand what the true effects of type 1 are, but how people can still lead normal lives while having type 1. And then you can get involved with our events locally. So how I met Amber was through the JDRF One Walk at Holiday World. This is an event that we have every spring, and we normally have 1,000 people join us for a fun day at Holiday World. It does look a little different this year, so we aren't actually doing the walk portion of it so that we can meet Holiday World's distancing guidelines, but people can still earn their free tickets through fundraising to attend JDRF Day at Holiday World on May 23rd. And then in September, we have our Louisville One Walk at Galrine Farms. If you've never been to Galrine, it is a pumpkin patch type thing. It's a lot like May's Farm in Evansville. It's got a petting zoo. It's got the pumpkin cannons, just a lot of the fun fall activities for a family. And then in October, we think that this might be our Indianapolis One Walk, but we aren't 100% sure. So that one is still up in the air right now. So some ways you can get involved in our events are you can form a walk team that is a business team, a school team, or a family team, or you can sponsor the event through your company or through a personal donation. We're also really excited to be hosting our first combined JDRF Indiana and Kentucky Gala this spring. Again, it is from the comfort of your own home because we are not ready to get 1,000 people together in a ballroom yet. And so you can join in our live auction right from your cell phone. So all the fun packages, distillery tours, domestic travel vacations. There's a fighter pilot experience this year. So you can bid on all those things. You can watch the program all from your phone. Other ways you can get involved are to sponsor the gala. You can donate an auction item. So if you have something unique that you think would help raise money for JDRF, you can donate an item to our auction, or you can purchase one of those fun, unique experiences that we are going to be raffling off at our auction. And last is sign up to be a JDRF advocate. And a lot of people ask, well, what do our advocates do? And the most pertinent bit of information about that right now is we are working with the states to prioritize T1D to receive COVID-19 vaccines. As you all know, the CDC released statements saying type 2 diabetes was a priority. Type 1 gets left off a lot. People don't realize that there's a difference between type 1 and type 2. And so states prioritized type 2 before they prioritized type 1. And so a lot of our constituents were not able to get the vaccine at the same time type 2s were. We are really excited. Kentucky just put type 1s in priority phase 1C this week. Indiana is still trying to figure out what they're going to do with type 1. So that's where our advocacy team comes in and, makes calls for us on behalf of type 1s. They reach out to the legislator and say, this is something that impacts me. My blood sugar fluctuates with a simple cold. What's it going to do with COVID-19? So you can sign up to be an advocate. You don't have to have a connection to type 1 or anybody with diabetes. It's just an extra voice for us when we need help in the bigger legislative world. So outside of COVID-19, other things we work on is insulin affordability, the special diabetes program, which is federally funded research dollars that have been donated to JDRF in the billions. This program needs renewal every few years, so we rely on our advocates to meet with our federal legislators via in-person events on Capitol Hill, which is really fun if you ever get the chance to go. Or the last few years, how it's been, we meet with them on Zoom and just tell our T1D stories. We tell the story of how type 1 diabetes affects babies and young children and teenagers and young adults, moms who want to get pregnant but have type 1, and there are extra risks and complications that come with that, and then all the way up into our elderly population of type 1s and how to make their life easier with all this new technology that they might not always understand. So being an advocate doesn't mean you need a connection to type 1. It just means you need to care about those that have type 1 and want them to have the same access to care and treatments that other people have. So that is all I have for you. a little bit about our chapter. I don't know if any of you know anything other than Amber, but Indiana and Kentucky were separate chapters up until July of last year. And then JDRF restructured. We went from 63 chapters to 29 combined chapters because, like everything, 2020 was hard for us. And our main priority was making sure that we were able to fund the research that we had promised to fund. So while it makes our jobs a little bit harder because we have a lot less staff and a lot more area to cover, we are really proud of the fact that we were able to keep funding CURE research and able to still hold events in this virtual world. It's different. But I'm really excited because I covered Southern Indiana and Western Kentucky, and now I cover Southern Indiana and the entire state of Kentucky. So I'm getting to know all sorts of people, not only from Henderson and Owensboro, but now Louisville and Lexington and Paducah and Bowling Green and clear over to the far, far east side of Kentucky. I haven't got to meet any of these people in person yet, which makes me kind of sad because that's my favorite role, is connecting with people. But I get to start meeting with them next month. So I'm really excited to learn more about what we can do across the entire state of Kentucky. So I will leave that to you guys. Does anybody have any questions for me? No? Quiet group.
Quiet group. My husband was wondering, are you guys going to have bourbon in your raffle this year like you did last year?
Amber, we have so much bourbon, like we don't even know what to do. Like our board members in Kentucky, because we still have a board in Indiana, we still have a board in Kentucky. We knew that adding in Kentucky would be helpful to gaining bourbon for our bourbon pool. But we have distillery tours, private bottle collections. And then we think that the bourbon pool is probably going to end up being twice the size it was last year. So
oh, that's awesome. That's good to know, because I think we ended up with 2 or 3 bottles, and they were some good brands. So that's great. I'll keep the Rotary group involved up to date, because I know there's a few bourbon drinkers.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any questions before we end for the day? All right. Well, thank you. You guys have a great day. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you in May.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.